think so. So welcome, Michelle. The floor is yours.
The wrong presentation.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry for the mistake. We are going to invite Julia to join the stage before. Welcome again. So people already know you. Don't need to introduce you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, I said I didn't want to leave the stage. So yeah. Maybe I'm going to bring you back around 15 years ago. And the central banks worldwide said, okay, we're going to try and let the telco venture into financial services because the banks are bad at financial inclusion. So we're going to do some special regulation. And if you are a telco, you can make a wallet for people to transact. And the telco succeeded because they had two assets. The first one is the, people in the streets that used to sell airtimes, now they were selling cash in, cash out. And the second asset, we're in 2005, 7, something like that, was the USSD. So USSD is you just dial in some number on your phone and you can access a menu where you can make transactions. And with that, it created a global financial revolution. In 2021, it's $1 trillion total payment volume for mobile money worldwide, and very concentrated in Africa. 70% of the transaction volume is in Africa. But the issue is the companies are kind of left out of the revolution. Why? Is because first, this regulation is a consumer regulation, and second is because the banks don't talk too much to the telcos. So when they don't talk with the telcos, you cannot really use your bank account to do mobile money transactions. And this is why we created Julia. Basically, we work with the telcos, we integrate with the telcos, and with our account, you can actually send money to any of the mobile money wallets. You can digitize your cash, so if you have cash as a company, you can go to one of those agents, put your cash, and it will be digitized. And also, as we talked before, we have cards that you can use to do your corporate payments, so to buy online or when you travel. In terms of business model, well, it's quite simple. It's just transactional. So you have a fee. It's the same fee that is expected by the customer, so around 1% fee to transact. No subscription cost, no opening account cost, etc. And in terms of customers, maybe you will see, so we target the customers that have a lot of unbanked workers, factories, we will target logistics companies, and a lot of startups. Actually, you can see here a lot of startups' names. They are our customers and they use our platform to pay their suppliers, pay their workers, or even digitize their cash. And in terms of traction, this year we're going to be transacting around 500 million euros worth of payments. That will be around 2.5 million euros of revenue. And this is a market which, as you saw in the first or second slide, is growing really fast. So quite small if you just look at the YMU, so the 8 Francophone countries, but growing something around 30% a year. So in 5 years' time, it's going to be more than a 3 billion euros market. The team, so I'm based in Côte d'Ivoire with all of the management team, but we are live in 3 countries, Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, and Benin. We have a product team which is completely remote in North Africa, in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, France, Portugal. And the competition, because you have, as we talked in the panel, strong competition in the sector, but basically it's between the fintechs and the banks. But where we focus is that our solution is not an API-first solution, it's a plug-and-play solution. So it's like an account. So our biggest challenges will be the big electronic money issuer, like Wave or Orange, and some banks that now are trying to launch these services. And for the future, what we're looking at is improving and providing more services to the people and the companies we serve. So we have some lending pilot that is currently ongoing in Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire, where companies can take a short-term working capital loan based on their transaction flows, and they will be using it. And we're also applying to new licenses to be able to provide better services. Oh, I lost the slide. So our ambition for Julia is to power the growth of SMEs, rather medium to large enterprise, all over Africa. So starting with those West African region, but also going to East Africa, Central Africa, and maybe even outside Africa someday. If you want to try it, you can just log in, and it's actually live, so you can send transactions with very small amounts. Thank you for your attention.
So if the jury have some question, you have like 2 minutes for.
Thank you. So my name is Michael. I'm with Launch Africa. We're actually one of the investors.
Yes.
So great to listen to your pitch. And I guess maybe the question I have is, as you're expanding, what are you finding is the biggest challenge you're facing, aside, of course, capital and regulatory processes, especially when you're looking to expand beyond West Africa, where the markets are a bit different?
Yes. So if I can get back the slides, when you look at the competition, you would see here, I don't know if I can point, or here is the payment aggregator, here is the wallet, here are the banks. So if you look at the payment aggregators, they are API strategy. So they will talk a bit like Stripe or Adyen worldwide. They talk to developers and they say, integrate my API, and you can embed your financial product through my APIs. But the API play is like a worldwide play, like Flutterwave or Paystack. You can go all over Africa. The regulation is kind of okay in most countries, and you can actually be continent-wise. But when you look at the wallets, you will see, for example, Wave is only strong in Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire, and some markets they are trying to crack. But they have not been able, despite the $200 million they raised, and actually more than that, to actually launch more countries. Why is that? Is because, as the Collison brothers says, wallets is more like a local play. So regulation is much, much stronger for wallets than for APIs. So for us, we try more to go in depth in the countries where we are. So West African region, WAEMU is good because same regulation for the 8 countries. So for now, we're looking a little bit at expanding, but it's more like a roadmap, and we're not really sure in terms of capital invested if it's going to be worth going to. A lot of people ask us to go to DRC, for example, but I'm saying DRC in official figures is kind of the same size as Côte d'Ivoire in GDP. Maybe unofficial figure is a bit bigger, but Côte d'Ivoire is connected to all of the 8 other countries. You can send freely money from Côte d'Ivoire to Senegal normally, without any capital restraints. So it's free capital flow, so yeah.
Okay, thank you for really clarifying your differentiating factor. My question is around your target market. So in terms of corporates, what have been the biggest struggles for you as a company to convince them that your product is the way to go?
Yeah, so for example, some customers I didn't put on the map are cocoa exporters or agricultural companies. So for the past 2 years, we've been trying to crack this market. It was a bit difficult. Can I finish the reply?
I don't know if I can give you
10 seconds. So
10 seconds.
It was a bit difficult because it's very low digital literacy. So we had to simplify the product so that it could be used by the cooperative presidents that are in the rural areas. And second is the market is owned by the exporters, and they would ask big things from us. For example, one of them asked us to have a 50 million euro guarantee. And I'm like, oh, it's not even my capital, so I cannot get this guarantee. So it was a tough market to crack for the largest customer. Thank you.
Bravo. Thanks a lot. So, can you keep that for me? Thank you. anybody from South Africa?
Good morning. I'm Michelle from AfricArena, and we're the team that are revolutionizing how payments are processed by consumers in-store and online. We have realized the vision of taking a product and building it that can allow consumers to download the application and transact completely wallet and device-free. Most of the products in the market today require that consumers use a specific device. With AfricArena, all you need is your face. Year on year, we see an increase in terms of fraud across all payment types. In South Africa alone, last year, there was in excess of R1 billion worth of fraudulent transactions across all payment types. You may be asking, are consumers ready to forego their legacy plastic and transact completely seamlessly with their facial biometric? The answer is yes. Market learnings, as well as the MasterCard biometric checkout program, have proved that consumers feel far safer when verifying their transaction with a biometric. In addition, the handset manufacturers have paved the way for our products, ensuring that you now have to open devices using facial biometrics and secure platforms with it. So we know the market is ready for our products. Our technology is sound. Our facial recognition engine can process up to 1 million templates in less than 10 milliseconds. In addition, it also has a proven unbiased for all ethnicities and genders. We've added an additional layer of security in the form of liveness detection, so before you transact, you already are proven to be a live human being, and the system cannot be bypassed or spoofed with a static photograph. The real magic is that the solution can be used on any off-the-shelf device, which lowers the merchant's acquisition costs. I'd like you to meet Eva. Eva is our ideal customer. She's a responsible consumer who realizes that the onus is on her to safeguard her payments. Eva downloaded the application and registered quick and seamlessly by inputting all her personal details. She then verified her user with an OTP that she received. She was then prompted to take her facial template, which she did with her handset, added a 4-digit PIN for two-factor authentication, and thereafter, she tokenized her bank card. Eva knows that this means that her details will never be compromised online. When Eva now transacts at a merchant, she simply elects to pay by face as opposed to paying with a traditional method. We are the right team to take this product to market. We're the right team to take this product to market. Our CTO has years of experience in deploying systems throughout Africa. With millions of transactions in the banking sector, he also deployed solutions in Europe for large retailers and was instrumental in deploying the solution for the Pick and Pay Smart Shopper program throughout South Africa, undoubtedly one of the most successful stories. I personally have had a successful exit from a previous startup which has largely funded this initiative. And we know how to build a profitable and scalable business. We know how to implement strategies that will convert customers as well as partners to build our ecosystem. To date, we have raised in excess of $1 million to support our system and our go-to-market strategy. In the seed round, we are looking to raise an additional $4 million with a requirement of $500,000 before the end of July this year. There's a problem, a big problem. We have an innovative solution. with diverse commercial models, including a per transaction fee, a freemium model to lock users in. Sorry, we're having some technical challenges. We'd love to chat to you. Our product is going to go to market, and we have the right solution for the African market. Thank you.
Bravo, Michelle. Thank you. So we still have 3 minutes for a question from the jury.
Okay. Hi again.
Hello.
We met in Joburg. My question is, what is stopping you from launching?
So nothing's stopping us from launching. We're part of the MasterCard biometric program. There were only 5 participants on a global scale. We're the only one in South Africa. We developed our and launched our product before the framework was actually released by MasterCard. We had successful launches last year with events of up to 5,000 people. However, we want to attain MasterCard CAST certification. And because we launched before MasterCard knew what they needed, we now had to go back and do a lot of remediation to ensure that we attain that certification. We want the credibility that goes with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my question is about your business model. How do you plan on making money?
Okay, so for users, it's free. For merchants, we use a standard per transaction fee, which is an industry standard. We have a partnership with Standard Bank in South Africa, which ensures that our transaction fees are competitive. In addition, we've built a advertising model, both in-app and on-device. We've partnered with Vodacom to realize revenue from WASP services. And then in the medical space, as well as in payroll, because our APIs can be used in other applications, we're able to charge per API call, as well as the one-off for onboarding. So the model's quite diverse.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Michael once again. I have a question on the IP. Is it in-house built or you're subcontracting that
Yes.
to?
So we built the application in-house. We do use a number of different components as well, just to ensure we had to expedite our go-to-market. We already had a product ready in September last year. And in order to meet the cost certification and the stringent timelines, we also had to use a lot of components within our product. So we have done that, but the majority of the product is developed in-house locally. And the IP we've taken offshore to the US. But we're distributing Africa through our South African entity.
Perfect. Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Bravo. Congratulations. So, thank you so much, Michelle. So I'm going to call on stage Stephen Kakuza from Kawu. Stephen.
Please come in.
Oh, okay. So if I can have the slider, please. Just a few seconds, we are putting the slides.
Thank you so much.
Trying to put the slide.
Sure, I can take them even without the slides. Thank you so much. I think the slides are refusing to load.
And he
But
said, let me go.
if you know what you're talking about, you don't need slides,
You
right?
don't need slides.
Sure.
Perfect.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kakoza Steven. I'm from Uganda, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about what we do. So, we are building what you can think of as mobile money that doesn't need the end user to have a mobile phone. So, we're calling it KAU for one reason. When I was in high school, my parents used to give me pocket monies. And the only way they could give me that money was by cash. This is about a decade ago. And I had to use this money within the first week of school, right? So you either eat your money or somebody else is going to help you eat your money, right? So we had that motto saying, you eat once, starve once, right? And it occurred to me after like 15 years that it was still the same thing happening in school settings, despite the advance, in technology. Right now, you can send money across borders. You can make payments from wherever you're seated at right now because of the power of a smartphone you're having in your hand. But there are millions of young people in school who don't have access to these devices. I'm speaking of the mobile phones, right? Because school policies across most African schools don't allow students to carry smartphones, right? So these are financially excluded because basically they are digitally disabled, right? So what we are doing at KAU is we are compressing the power of a smartphone and putting it in this, the KAU Smart Card. So with the KAU Smart Card, students are now able to receive money, make payments, make savings, but most importantly, keep their financial records. Meaning even after school, you can go with your financial record and access other services outside school. We've been in operation now for about 15 months. We launched in May, and we've been able to process over 150,000 in transactions. For just 15 months, we've been recognized as the FinTech Innovation Excellency by Digital Impact Awards Africa, and we are happy to have launched in over 50 schools in Uganda. We are working on our arrangements to scale the product, and we are now raising 100,000 in pre-seed investments. We believe this is a great opportunity for you right now because we are in a sweet and virgin market where there is very, very limited competition. When I talk about competition, I talk about the teachers who sometimes keep the money for the students. I'm talking about cash, whereby some parents find it easy to give cash to their students. I'm talking about mobile money. If we can think about 15, 20 years, just in case the government agrees to allow phones in school. And we believe what will give us the competitive edge is our flexibility, our team, and the ability to build great system. I'm the team lead and founder of KAU. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. This is my second startup. I've failed a couple of times. And I have my co-founder who is proficient in building great systems. He has a degree in software engineering. And we are super, super excited to be championing financial inclusion for students, for young people. We are just trying to be heroes we wish we had when we're back in schools, right? So we can't wait to see what the future holds for the young people, for the youth, people like us. Thank you so much.
Bravo, Stefan. A big round of applause for stepping up on the stage like this without your slide. But as you said, when you are an entrepreneur, every time even if you are wake up at 3 a.m. to pitch, you just pitch. Is that? Bravo. So we have 2 more minutes for question from the jury.
Hi, Stephen. Congratulations on launching and progress to date. I was just about to ask you how you make money and the slide for your revenue model just. So if you could please talk to us.
Back, one step back.
I think it's
Okay, so how we make money is we sell these cards. So these cards are basically not Visa or MasterCard. We do produce them in-house. They are designed and produced by us. So we sell each of them at about $2.7, from which we are able to keep above 80% since we produce them. We also charge a sending or transaction fee of 3%, only charged to the parent. And we also have a subscription model of $1 per student. Thank you.
Backing off that, nice to see you again. In terms of your traction and based on who's your customer, first of all, is it the parent or the student? And how can they afford your product?
Okay, there seems to be something like a gray line between the parent and the student and who is our customer. But we found out that actually this is some of the rare cases where our customer is going to be the school. Instead, it will be the parent who pays the money, right? Because when you go to a school, you don't come to make decisions on which things your child will use in school, right? If you go to a school, they tell you, in this school, this is how we keep our money. This is what are the requirements, right? So we knew that, and now what we do is we simply visit the school, tell them about the problem, actually just remind them about it. And when the school agrees, now the parent just have to catch up.
Hi. Congratulations doing the presentation without the slides. That was amazing. Really liked it.
Thank you.
So what's your sales strategy? You're addressing schools. How do you plan on doing that? How do you plan on scaling?
Thank you so much. You asked about scaling or selling?
Both.
Okay. So when we started, actually, we had the product, we had the card, we had the system, and we visited our first school. And the question they asked us about was, are you guys right now regulated or something? And we tell them, no, we're not, but it works. So they were like, okay, let's try it out. So our selling strategy is very simple. We just visit schools, remind them about their problem, and give them a solution, which, from my observation, from like 99% of the schools we visited are willing to give it a try because the problem is pressing to them and they don't have any other solution to it. So that's one. So with regards to scaling, one of my slides was skipped, but we are partnering with institutions like Absa Bank and Payway to see that they help us easily scale. Our vision is to foster financial inclusion for every student in Africa. But when I reached airport yesterday, I couldn't get myself from the airport to here because most of folks couldn't speak English. Then I realized, oh, maybe we need a partner in Senegal if we are to be here. So we're believing too much in partnership. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, follow-up question, because you forgot to mention your traction so far, but also, what are your overhead costs? Like, what is the cost of acquisition when it comes to your customers? Since you actually have to physically go there, I'm assuming it's a team of maybe 5 people. How is that going?
Thank you. Right now, it costs us less than $100 to visit a school. Actually, our average bundle is about 1,300. Very, very low. Even as we wonder about how we do it. But when we visit a school, we pitch to the school administration. So on average, a school has about 2,000 students, right? So of those, we right now only taking about 500. So if you divide the 100 with 500 students we get, the cost is very, very minimal. And we have them for about 10, 15 years. So our customer value is way, way.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Stephen.
He has one burning question since our pitch deck delay.
Actually, we give you 2 more minutes.
Thank you so much.
No,
Please.
we already give you 2 more minutes.
You added me?
Yeah, you have 5 minutes
Okay.
for the
Thank you
question.
so much. I
I'm
appreciate
sorry, I'm the bad cop. Thank you so much, and we are definitely going to find how to partner with Sekenegali's ecosystem. Thanks a lot. So now I'm calling on stage Dali Belajuna for eclectic. You're gonna correct me. You know, Belajuza. Okay. Mr. Dali Belajuza for eclectic from Tunis, right? Perfect. The stage is yours.
So, hi everyone. I'm Dali. I'm from Tunisia. The real name is Mohamed Ali, and I'm more than happy to be with you guys. So, Eclectic is a newborn. So, we've been operating since 2019. But the good thing about it is that we're leading the Tunisian market when it comes to the consumption industry, the digital consumption industry, by connecting to the telco operators and monetizing digital content. A little bit of our numbers. So last year alone, we made $45 million in turnover with 20 per person, and we connected to 25 telco operators, and now we're live in 3 countries with only 1 office. We have 4 million subscribers, and we're processing 200 million transactions per year. And this numbers that you just saw is the big chunk is just for Tunisia. But that's why we're here. We're expanding heavily in West Africa because we see the opportunity there, since there is a big thing when it comes to banking the unbanked and giving financial solutions to consume content. And the big thing about Africa is everybody has a cell phone and a SIM card, and this is all we need to make these guys consume great content and valuable projects. And this is not just that, because it's booming. And by 2025, this number will become 213, with a lot of new 5G connections, which will enable the new wave of content as well, and a great economic value. So basically what we do is that we connect to the telco, the mobile network operator billing system, and we enable meaningful content providers to directly bill their services to the network, the network subscribers. So let me take you on how it works. You need no KYC, no sensitive data. All you have to do is put your phone number, you receive a code, and then you're good to go for the service, and you can consume this content on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, or on a one-time payment. Our business model is pretty simple. There are 3 stakeholders. We have the mobile network operator, the content provider, and us. And there's a contract between us and we start sharing revenue all together. We don't work on content that come like this. We work on meaningful verticals like sports, education, entertainment, culture, health and well-being, and culinary, because what we think is that Africa and West Africa needs local content for local people. And we should stop bringing this content from Western Europe, and that's what we're doing right now. And we also have a great business unit that made proof that we can onboard startups into the mobile network operator billing system. In Tunisia, we did great. We are building our own incubator there. But to talk with startups, you should be like a startup. So we are packing all our tech in one single product that will be Smart Pay, and we are thriving to become a digital content payment hub. How so? So we're gonna get the direct carrier billing I was talking about, but add wallet and money aggregator, since there's a tremendous penetration of mobile money, so we cannot do without it. We're raising right now, $5 million for customer acquisition, product innovation because of Smart Pay, and to strengthen our local presence. I was telling that we are acting local, thinking global, and to act local, you need locals, you need these things. So the other ask is partnering with great local players, whether they are managers, business developers, or content creators, to bring the real value to the real customer. This Pixar superhero teams here is what makes the dream work. We totalize like 180 years of experience. We have separate business units, each one, and we work with the best partners that we find in each country we operate in. So thank you very much. Thanks for hearing me, and please.
Thank you, Dali. So, question from the jury? Afi? Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks very much.
So how do you plan on competing with free content providers? I'm talking about the YouTubes, etc.
Yeah, YouTube is something, but let me give you a simple example. We have a lot of VOD platforms. Let me tell you about one platform that we're deploying in Tunisia. It's called Raksha. And in Ramadan, Raksha made more views than YouTube. It's something that's becoming obvious to us. We love to consume our content. You can see in Côte d'Ivoire, we were planning to launch a universal music catalog, and we came back to launch a Zouglou app. And our projection in our business cases with the Zouglou app are better than the universal catalog, where we cannot win a penny for the 3 first years of operations. So people need to consume local content, even for books. You find PDFs, books everywhere. But when we talk in Tunisia, we did an ebook series that we have monetized through the 3 main operators there. And the consumption was just unbelievable. We sold more ebooks than the big book fair that were happening there. So yeah, local content is the future, and monetizing this local content in a meaningful way is what we are striving to do, I mean.
Thank you for the presentation. A question on I think you mentioned last year you did 45 million in revenue. What were your margins on that? And on the raise, what's the valuation on the raise, and how's the traction looking so far?
We are with a company that is taking care of this. It's Atijeri Finance. So they are preparing the data room. They're preparing all the investment readiness things for us. The margin that we're doing out of the 45 million is 8 million. So it's roughly 3 million euros after charges and revenue share and all that. The thing is that today, the mobile network operators are taking a big cut in Africa because it's like they're a lobby at the end of the day. You know, Orange is everywhere, MTN is everywhere, movies everywhere, and they're talking together to like lock a little bit of the market. But if you go far from here in China or in China, let's say, you can buy your water with direct carrier billing, and they are competing with the bank fees. So yeah, we are maybe in the forefront of this. We are bringing a lot of value with the startups and the service providers that are working with us, but we're striving to bring a lot more of that value and make a bigger gross margin that we're doing right now. Even though we never raised funds, we are expanding in a great way we are expanding in Palestine, in Iraq. We have a great project in Liberia at a state level for financial and digital inclusion. So we're doing a lot of things out of this thing, and yeah, things are going to change. We believe that this type of payment might be among the next generation of payment, because I think we're going through the wrong ladder in our regions. We're always talking about how many bank accounts have been opened when we talked about financial inclusion. We talk about credit card penetration when we talk about the digital consumption, but it's not the case. We have great other means, and we have to go through them, because KPI is a KPI, financial included is a financial included. A guy that gets digital literacy through these services is getting it for himself, so it doesn't matter where it's coming from, but the best thing is coming local.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
And the slider, please. Can I take the remote? Can I take the remote? Thank you. let's welcome 3 Rings Adeboye from Nigeria.
Hello, everyone. I'm Adeboye Idowu. I'm the CEO, co-founder of 3 Rings. I'm actually Nigerian, but I've been living in Senegal for 26 months, so I'm partly Senegalese. Just as how blood is the lifeline of the body, right? It's also said that working capital is actually the lifeline of every business. Running the same parallels, actually, on lifelines, right? It is said that SMEs are actually the anchor of businesses in Africa. And why so? The question is because SMEs are actually 90% of businesses in Africa. And they also contribute 40% to the GDP of Africa, right? But with these great statistics, right, traditional lenders only provide trade financing of 28% to SMEs in Africa. So because of this, it's resulted in what we call a trade finance gap. This data set is actually from 2011 to 2019 by AFDB, but if you read all the reports today, it's estimated that the trade finance gap is about $120 billion, okay? So at 3 Rings, what are we doing? We're providing a solution that is going to provide our users something more than a lifeline. And what do I mean something more than a lifeline? I'm saying our users will be able to have access to working capital so that they can facilitate their cross-border trades. Now, we're going beyond providing a lifeline to these users in that we're going to give them a free tool for them to digitize their operations. And what do I mean by that? We're going to give them a system where they can actually track their inventory, create orders electronically, communicate with their contacts, all on one platform, right? Our product capabilities will be simple, right? It's going to be a free paperless system, right? They get on the platform, they can use it for free, right? They can now access their working capital on a case-by-case basis. All the process of onboarding will be done automatically, all on the platform. And one unique thing about us is that the users will not require any form of hard collateral. Our traction to date, they said that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step, and we've taken our first step by working with a business in Senegal. He exports to the Netherlands, right? Because we worked with him, we'll be able to facilitate a $30,000 trade volume from Senegal to the Netherlands, right? And we are taking further steps, right, with other group of users all based in Senegal, right? And we have a pipeline of facilitating $1.5 million in trade within 12 months. The market opportunity, right? The Globe says global is about 1.7 trillion. Africa, let's say, is 100 billion. But I want to focus on the ECOWAS 4, right? Starting with Senegal. And the trade finance gap in the ECOWAS 4 is $14 billion, right? 7 billion in Nigeria, 3 billion in Ghana, 3 billion in Ivory Coast, and 1 billion in Senegal. Our business model is simple, right? Our users come on our platform, they use our free tool to digitize their operations, right? They go through an automated underwriting system where they get a credit limit, right? That limit they get through the onboarding KYC that we now determine based on their volumes on transactions. This is the amount of trade we can facilitate with them, right? Then we sign our e-contracts, and at the click of a button, once they require working capital, they can get on the platform. Our team, is more like 3 Rings. It's actually a blend of credit, technology, and finance, right? Our foundation is Isaac. He has over 12 years experience in managing credit for SMEs and B2B businesses from Africa to Europe, right? We have Suresh, who is our CTO. He's from India, but he's lived in Thailand. He currently lives in Berlin, right? He has worked with the biggest neobank in Mexico, right? Then that's me, Adeboye, the Nigerian that currently lives in Senegal. Our competition, these are our competition is broken down into 10 companies, traditional lenders.
Time is over.
It's over.
Maybe we can leave the question and response.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
This is pretty much the
time
last slide.
to talk about competition. So some questions?
Yeah, tell us about your competition.
Competition, thank you very much. Because
It's so easy.
Because we're a Senegalese company, right? We are starting where the competition is low, right? Our major competitor will seem to be Jetstream, but Jetstream is based in Anglophone Africa, West Africa, Ghana, right? We are looking at a market, Francophone, where the competition is low and where banks are not willing to step up on their game. So we're using our platform to be able to build traction and actually provide a solution to our users. Okay?
Thank you, Adeboye. So
Thank you.
follow up on that, on your traction.
Yes, please.
How's that looking revenue-wise, customer-wise, and the plans?
Our business model is simply we give you financing and we earn an interest on our financing. Okay? So from get-go, we will be making revenues. So ultimately, our business model will not have to evolve in managing cost of funds versus how much we make on our cost of funds. But for now, we are generating revenues.
Excellent. And then final question, what are the timelines in terms of from initial assessment of a potential opportunity to deploying financing to them?
Thank you very much, sir. We are currently building our own underwriting system, and it's evolving at the moment, right? And we want to build a unique system where we can move and provide financing in less than a week, ultimately. But for now, we are looking at closing deals with our users within 2 weeks. All right?
So I have a question. So Adeboye, I know you, and
Yes.
you went through the team slide really quickly. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
About myself, I'm Nigerian. I love finance. I worked in finance pretty much all my life. And I'm here today because it's easier for bigger corporates and sovereign countries to get financing. But it leaves the SMEs out of the chunk to get financing. And if SMEs can't get financing, how can they grow? So I want to be able to evolve from that paradigm of saying, you know what, let's focus more on the SMEs where it matters. The number shows is 90%. 90% is staggering, right? But if we do not have people that are willing to step in the gap to provide the structure for lenders to provide financing to the users, then it won't happen. So I want to use my structured finance ECA experience over the years. I want to be able to use that with technology to be able to provide lending to our users. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. So maybe we can applaud a little bit more our fintech startup to congratulate them. Bravo. It's always a pleasure and also a bright. It's always a pleasure to see the innovation we have in our continent. And fintech, as I said in my introduction, is one of the ingredient we need for our recipe to develop our continent. So the sauce is getting better. So thank you for all these fintech startups. We are now going to move to our mobility panel, Building Bridge for Investment. So Afi, you are staying with me. Hein? Tu bavardes ou tu débriefes? Tu débriefes. Okay, so Afi is going to moderate the coming panel. But before I welcome our speakers, I just wanted also to share something about how we are experiencing also mobility in Africa and how it is affecting also our day-to-day life. Personally, I step out from Dakar and go to live, at Ngaparu, a small area around Sali. And, and this decision was made, I took that decision because I was just trying to save my mental health because of Dakar traffic. So, and this is one thing. The second thing is that every time I think that many of you had to travel through the continent to come in Dakar. And when it's come to also to travel in our continent, you just say, okay, let me take a big breath and, and just cross finger that everything is going to be okay, because this is definitely a struggle to move in our continent, to move in our cities, and that is why also, and we need this creativity or also this innovation to bring some solution for that, and just announce also our day-to-day life and also announce our African development. So for this panel, talking about building bridge for investment, please welcome our speaker, Pap Kan, CEO and founder of Kanimo. Thank you. Simon G. Duchalet, Investor Risk Capital at Global Innovation Fund. Maria Gabriela Marin, co-founder and CEO of ParkSmart. You have some fans. We call her Gabby. Velani Mbonweni. Is that correct? Thank you. CEO and founder of Lula. And our moderator, Mr. Happy Barry, who is going to guide our speaker through this talk about mobility.
Thank you so much. Hello? All right, we're good. Hi, everybody. The topic today is going to be mobility. Most of us live in African cities, and we can see how fast those cities are growing and how cumbersome it has become to move around, move products, and just basically deal with the pollution that is embedded in all the transportations that we see. For instance, we're all in Dakar, and at the moment, funny enough, so one of the members of our panel on mobility was stuck in traffic. Right? Dakar is not such a big city. It's actually tiny, and we should be able to move around quite easily. 52% of the cars in Senegal are 4x4, creating a lot of pollution. People here have health issues. And today we have great startups that are addressing the problem of mobility in Africa. And we have people that finance those solutions. So on the topic of bridging the investment gap for mobility, I would like for every single panelist to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit how they tackle the problem of mobility. So we're going to start with Velani.
Okay, thank you so much, Hafi. Pleasure to meet you finally. I'm Velani, co-founder and CEO at Lula in South Africa. We're a platform or marketplace that's connecting businesses and their people to a network of shuttles to move them from home to work and beyond on a daily basis. So we have just under 1,000 drivers on the platform. We've served over 250 businesses, reduced over 900 tons of CO2 from the environment, and done well over 400,000 rides. Really just focusing primarily on B2B as our business model, and our supply really is anything with 6 seats up to 22 seats, as well as a combination of luxury vehicles, really built on the premise that without access to transportation, you cannot access economic opportunities. And without those opportunities, you cannot solve for poverty, unemployment, and inequality. And this is a challenge that is facing all of us across Africa, and in fact, generally across emerging cities that need a better way to move. That's the challenge that Lula is tackling. And we really have 3 core services. One, as I mentioned, is our commuter service that operates 24/7 for businesses across South Africa. The second is our charter service, and that's really for picking you up, taking you home, taking you to a meeting, taking you to an airport, really as and when you need that. And ultimately, our final service is what we call our full day and half day hires. And it's like events like these where businesses can procure the services of our vans to be with them across multiple sites at any given point in time. So that's really what we're about, and yeah, really big on catapulting Africa to the developing future of zero carbon future and economic prosperity through transportation.
Thank you so much, Velani. So our next panelist, Gabi, please.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Gabriela Marin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ParkSmart. Our goal is to digitize parking in emerging cities. We started in Dakar. What we do is we combine 3 different aspects into our network. We work with parking operators, our own personal parking assets, and we also involve the informal sector. So this is what we call them, the human IoTs, the street parkers. We've noticed that when we first started our company, our goal was to digitize different parking operators, but we knew that we couldn't create a holistic approach without the street parkers. And we noticed that there's street parkers everywhere, not only just in Dakar, they're in Lagos, they're in La Paz, they're all over the world. So with our solution, what we want to do is be able to, our ultimate goal is to provide a one-click solution, parking solution, especially for emerging cities.
Thank you, Gabi. And next panelist, Simon.
Hey, can you hear me? Yeah. Happy to be here. I'm Simon, working for the Global Innovation Fund, which is an impact-focused venture capital fund based in London. So far, we've made about 25 investments, several of them in the mobility sector. So one of the companies, for example, we financed in the mobility sector is Where Is My Transport? In South Africa, working on mapping the informal routes. I guess in Senegal, you would call the informal transport system the car rapide. Is that right? Yeah. So basically, these informal transport networks are usually, as their name implies, very informal. So users, authorities in the government, companies have very little visibility over what's happening in these networks, what are the routes that are followed. They basically lack any data, and the company is filling that gap with an open data platform that they monetize by selling the data to government authorities to make better transport regulations. They sell it to corporate partners such as transportation companies. And now they have launched a consumer-facing app, a bit similar to what Google Maps has been trying to do globally, enabling consumers to have more visibility over the transport, and especially to find backup options when the informal transport system is not really serving them. Another investment we made in the mobility sector is SafeBoda. This dates back to 2016, so at an early stage. SafeBoda is a ride-hailing platform, similar to Uber, but really serving moto taxi. So Boda drivers in East Africa, and those have expanded to Nigeria as well. And they have been trying to launch into a super app model where they also do e-commerce, deliveries, and now they are also working with car taxi drivers. So yeah, a couple of investments, and always eager to do more.
More than a couple, from what I heard. At least 5 or 6. I said more than a couple, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've made a lot of investment. Thank you for that. So our next panelist is Papa Khan from Sense Startup.
Hi everyone, my name is Papa Khan, CEO and founder of Kanimo, but also program manager for Sense Startup, which is an association put together by other entrepreneurs to support local startups and help them grow from a maturity level to the next, and obviously introduce them to other players in the ecosystem as far as investors is concerned, and other types of investors like or incubators. And because we are sector agnostic, we are lucky to have the chance to meet with a lot of different startups in different sectors, including the mobility sector, and we obviously are looking into being up to date with the different trends and seeing what's going on and understand some of the needs, but also the cultural barriers and other type of barriers that they may encounter, which is one of the reasons why we were invited here today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So we spoke a little bit about the fast growth of our cities. In the current environment of our continent, how does your company help solve the mobility issues?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. I answer your question by actually asking a question first, and generally to the public, I'm curious to know, and if you just close your eyes and think about this and say, you know, how did you get from where you were this morning to this venue? And then secondly is, how did you get from the airport to your hotel? And thirdly, how different was that experience from the country or the city in which you originated from? So if you have that in your mind, you will realize that it's probably not very consistent, probably very disorganized, probably needed a bit more transparency in terms of where your drivers were, how much it costs, and if indeed the person who was supposed to pick you up was really the person who was supposed to do so. Now, in our business case, there's a couple of things that really, help us succeed within the context. And the first is community, right? So, our business thrives on having a community of drivers who are in the forefront of fulfilling our services. But secondly, from our customer perspective, by targeting businesses, schools, nonprofits, and any type of organization, they're built around communities of people gathering. So by having that community of drivers and community of customers, our business is effectively a lot more resilient. The second thing is your network and trust in components. So within the Lula environment, being able to trust and verify drivers is a really critical thing that informal providers as well as regular shuttle companies cannot do quite well. Thirdly, is probably to emphasize that in the grand scheme of things, trust, safety, and convenience will always trump price. So if you had to take a flight from Dakar to Nairobi and you had to be picked up by someone, you are more willing to pay more money if you can trust the provider, you feel safe, and it's a convenient process. And in our business model, those are the key things that really take us to the next thing. And ultimately, I think the tailwinds for us is the fact that, as mentioned earlier, you have this African continental free trade agreement where the demand to move people across the continent is been at an all-time high and has a policy that is supporting that. So as our business grows, we really want to be in partnership with people around the continent to really move people in a safe and reliable way. So those are some of the key components that really support our business case right now to thrive. Of course, when we talk about challenges, we'll speak about that a little bit later, but again, the big thing there would be time and patience to realize our future.
Thank you. So my next question is to Gabby. While building your mobility startup, what were the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
Oh my God. As a startup, I mean, you just have so many different challenges. For us, it's just even for basically getting started, breaking ground on our first parking lots. It was just in itself, we thought that, oh, we're going to get this done. You come with a different mentality, you're going to get the project done in X amount of time. Yeah, it takes way longer than that. And within that time, your costs keep going up. So it's just that there's just so many different challenges. But I think as any startup, and kudos to all the startups that are here, it's just like, what do you do to overcome it? Like for us, yeah, we had costs from the beginning, and we were a self-funded startup. So it was very difficult, but we added in another component that at the time, we were like, well, let's just do car wash. Let's see, we just start with car washes. Are we gonna get the crowd that we need? Just something so simple, boom. We were half full within like a month. it was really incredible to see those kind of things. And just from building your teams, understanding how to create your team, like what do you actually need. Coming from the US, you have a different mentality of what the team means. But here, I've learned so much, and I really appreciate so much the members of my team. They're not maybe at the same level of maybe education as I came here, but they are so much smarter than me. It's just really incredible because you undermine what they know. But even like, for example, for us working with the street parkers, you really undermine. You just see these guys on the street washing your car. You have no idea the knowledge that these guys have. I mean, they know everything. They know which parking area is parked by who reserved what, who owns this place, should you park here or not. And for everybody, you just see these guys on the street and you just think that they're just hanging around. No, it's extremely organized. These guys really work together. They even have days off that they give each other if somebody's sick, somebody comes to replace, and the replacement is not just some guy from the street, it's somebody that they know. So just understanding those kind of things, it's just, those, for us at the beginning, it was a challenge to kind of understand that because we didn't get that from the beginning. So we're like, oh, street parkers, we're just going to go, we're going to talk to them, they're just going to come right over to us. No, it was extremely, very organized. The way we approached them had to be very, with a lot of tact. At the beginning, we made a lot of mistakes. They say, oh, no, you guys just want, you want money. No. They don't want money, they want respect. And so these kind of things are so important to understand in cities like this. And I'm from Cochabamba, Bolivia. We do the same thing. It's the same, it works the same way. So other challenges is just like, for us, parking is so undermined, nobody thinks about it, but everyone wants the benefit of arriving to a parking lot without having to look around, right? But all the work that goes behind it, it's a lot of effort just to get to that level. Things don't move as fast as you want them to be, and sometimes for a lot of startups, that's so stressful, and you just have to keep going. You gotta keep your eyes on the end game, and just, I don't know, just have fun. There's challenges everywhere, but you just gotta keep going.
Thank you for this answer. I really appreciate it. So tapping the local knowledge and the informal markets to really build something from the ground up. I really like this idea. So next question will go to Simon. So when you're making an investment in a mobility startup, what are you looking for?
Thanks for the question. If we take a step back, given I introduced the two investments we made in the sector, I think as an investor, we try to diversify our investments. So I think we would definitely not do similar investments. So we won't do investments in ride hailing, I think. We won't do anything related to data in informal transport networks. So then we need to ask ourselves, what should we do? And I think one of the exciting areas at the moment in the mobility sector in Africa and in the world at large is electric mobility. So anything that has to do with electric vehicles, I think is really exciting for us from many viewpoints, because we've not done it yet. We see a massive opportunity, including for impact, given, as you said in your introduction, public transportation in Africa is such a massive issue, especially with urbanization rates. And we see electric mobility as a potential solution to some of these problems, including air pollution, of course, given it's fueled by clean energy, but also many other impact potential. And then, also as an impact investor, it's important for us to see where we can add value. And I think, given the electric mobility sector is very nascent in Africa, it's a bit more advanced in East Africa, but not so much. And we see some startups emerging in this sector in West Africa as well. I think it's important to provide these companies with patient capital, and that's where impact investors can add value, basically. Patient capital meaning being there for the long term, of course seeking returns, but not in a a short time frame, which is super important because electric mobility startups require a lot of investments, like especially capex, so capital expenditures, especially as long as there is no public charging infrastructure, these startups will have to build it, which can be interesting from a business point of view, but that requires capital. So again, this idea of patient capital comes in. On more than patient capital, I think it's important to also adapt to the needs of the startups. So at JF, we're able to provide not only equity, but also debt. And I think it's particularly relevant for these kinds of startups that require a lot of capex, basically, to provide debt. So that's where we could play a role. And we are actively looking for opportunities. So please reach out if you have anything in Senegal or West Africa in that sector.
Thank you, Simon. So same question for you, Papakan. I know that you're not as actively investing as the Global Innovation Fund, but when you're looking for companies to incubate with Sense startups, what are you looking for when it comes to mobility?
So I think today the first thing that we have to really think about is that we can see definitely that mobility is currently having a good momentum. I think within the last 2 years and some change, it's been about $120 billion that's been invested into that industry, if not more. So obviously it is doing something. But today when we're talking about Senegal, especially here, and we're talking about mobility, we have to really think about, local realities. Make sure that we are understanding the market. Because today, even though the 4 ACEs, like they're called, are taking, are really those that the investors are looking into, we have to really think about what really works for us here. We have to think about buying power, we have to think about mentality, we have to think about all those different things that actually do matter. Just because autonomous driving is working for Tesla does not mean that it's going to be something that's going to be working for Senegal. So we have to make sure that when we're supporting those entrepreneurs, that we're really guiding them and making sure that they do understand the market that they really want to address, and that they're actually trying to, bring a solution for a real problem. A lot of times people, I don't know, you have an itch, you're not going to go to the doctor. It may not be a problem, but if you have if you break your ankle, you might want to have to go to the doctor. And those are some of the things that they have to think about when they're like really thinking about their market and how they want to address them. So to me, I think it's interesting when trying to support a startup that is in mobility. It's interesting to really make sure, for me, to see that they made sure that they really understood, the market that they were trying to address, that they understood all the different aspects of, the one that I mentioned as far as buying power, and mentality and things are concerned. Because for a lot of the mobility within the industry, within the 4 A's, a lot of it for Senegalese people may or may not seem like a luxury, things. And if we want to make sure that, then you'll have people who try and make it less of that and try to work on like ride sharing, things of the sort. But we have to me, and if I can see that this entrepreneur really understand all of these different aspects and is actually working towards a solution that addresses this for the Senegalese people, I think that is great. And I think that is something that's going to be very important to do and to replicate in other countries within Africa, because obviously the realities are not going to be the same. And just like mobile money is going to work perfectly fine here, does not mean that that's something that's going to work specifically or greatly in the US, for example, where the banking rate here is very low, as we know it, so it's easier. So we have to, those are like going to be things that I'm going to be looking for. And it's also obviously going to make it easier for the investors that we're going to have as far as partners is concerned. Because if I'm bringing somebody that is not ready, that does not necessarily know this, and because as an investor, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to have a good return on investment. Right, so, and one of the ways to measure that is going to be traction. So if I'm having a luxury product and I don't have that traction, it's not going to be a thing. So just to sum it up right there.
Thank you very much for this answer. So we know that the mobility problem will take time. Thankfully, we have patient capital to solve that. The challengers are local, so we'll have to tap into the local knowledge. But what we need to provide is we need to provide safe and reliable options. let's project ourselves in the next 10 years or 5 years. How do you see the future of industry and the future of mobility on the continent, and in particular in South Africa, Vellani?
Yeah, so I think for us as a continent and region and cities across Africa, the first is obviously just unpacking some of the challenges that exist in general. The first is these solutions do definitely take a lot of time to build and take a lot of time to dominate in a specific market. You also need to understand that your competition is not necessarily yourself, but you're competing against governments, right? So the choice is either government builds what you're doing or private sector organizes it and scales it. And from there, you need the capital markets to have a very deep sense of understanding on your why and how we need to get there. Because, if we talk about transportation on your phone, 99% of the people here think of Uber, right? But that took a lot of time and capital that, to even produce any type of returns, and even their returns aren't coming from the ride-hailing business, it's coming from deliveries. So hopefully in the future, there would be a greater appreciation for the time it takes to grow and scale these businesses. And also secondly, is an appreciation that mobility in Africa is not a nice to have, it's actually a necessity. And on top of that, it's actually an infrastructure play. It's not a type of service or product where you're doing transaction fees for a bank and you're doing saving wallets, with all due respect. It's critical infrastructure that even a pandemic like COVID could not stop the need for transportation across the continent. So an appreciation of the time it takes, understanding that you're building infrastructure and not building nice to haves. And thirdly is being able to have a market that can obviously differentiate itself accordingly to its uniqueness. So when people talk about services and transportation that are available on your phone, we mustn't all be grouped as a type of Uber. The same way that PayPal versus Stripe, Airbnb versus Booking.com, Uber Eats versus Postmates, I think a lot of the businesses in these markets need to really just differentiate themselves by 2 or 3 key qualities, whether it be your segment, whether it be your business model, or be your uniqueness of supply. So those 3 or 4 critical elements would be critical for the future. And then if we nail that, you'll have a generally prosperous mobility ecosystem with patient capital, infrastructure, time, and convenience, where all of us benefit. At the end of the day, like they say, a rising tide raises all ships. And ultimately, it's about not just not being first to market, but being the one who does the service right. And that's ultimately what needs to happen across Africa.
Thank you for your answer. And I like this idea about specialization. And so let me segue and go to Gabby. So how do you see the future of parking? Because you're in a very particular segment. What is the future of parking like?
Yeah, I think, actually, I think it's a little bit more general, my answer, because I think AI is going to change many things for all of us, including the mobility sector. I mean, for us, we're just in the parking industry, but we're gathering data just now. There's so much information out there that would allow you to make very smarter decisions. For us, I see that in the future there will be a one-click parking solution, either through telematics in your vehicle or directly through your app. All the complexity will be in the background via AI. So I do feel like there's going to change very fast, and maybe the next startups or whoever that's looking at this, there's so much data out there, and you can do so much with it. So I think that AI is going to really revolutionize everything, including mobility.
Awesome. Great answer. And thanks for bringing up AI. I think you nailed it. It's part of the solution. So Simon, what do you see the future of the mobility industry being as an investor?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, I would say, completely agree with you on the AI, importance of AI. I think it's important to bring AI to the mass market. So again, coming back to our investment in Where is My Transport, it's a solution that is definitely building on AI, but serving the mass market, which I find very interesting, to make sure that this amazing new technology is benefiting most people, including in emerging markets. And to come back to your question, yeah, I would definitely see electric mobility, as I said, as a trend. It's going to take a long time to really, take the biggest market share. So it's going to be a long ride in a way. There are a couple of challenges that startups can definitely help solve. One of them is the infrastructure challenge, as I said. And ideally, you would have several startups addressing these challenges at different layers. So one startup could focus on the charging aspect of the electric mobility sector. One of the startups could focus on the sales and distribution. Another startup could focus on the maintenance of these new vehicles. Another one could focus on manufacturing or importing these vehicles. So ideally, there would be an ecosystem around this new electric mobility sector where roles would be split. And what we are seeing in the market at the moment is because the ecosystem doesn't exist, many startups are trying to do too much, which is a bit concerning. But I think it's a matter of time. Again, I said, given you gave us a 10-year time frame, I think it's a matter of time for startups to segment the market. On AJF, what we would be particularly interested in seeing in startups is startups that can innovate on the business model front, so making it accessible for the mass market to buy these electric vehicles, particularly on the B2B front. So think of the taxi drivers, think of the van drivers, again, coming back to Car Rapide in Senegal. How do you address the demand from these drivers that I'm sure would be eager to get the electric vehicles, but as we all know, an electric van costs much more at an upfront cost than a diesel-fueled van. So we are really interested in finding innovations that can solve that issue of the upfront cost, because when you look at it, again, to come back to your 10-year time frame, the total cost of ownership over 10 years of an electric vehicle makes a lot of sense. This is much cheaper than a diesel-fueled vehicle. So it's only a matter of finding the right financing mechanism and business model innovation to solve for that upfront cost issue. So yeah, if anyone in the room has such an innovation, we'd be very keen on looking at it.
Thank you so much. So before I open the floor for questions, maybe Papa can tell us what he thinks about the future of the industry, really quickly.
Well, I'll go very briefly. As far as the future of mobility globally, I see a lot of flying cars, a lot of AI, and I think that we're actually already starting to see some flying cars and things of the sort recently, and I think that it's going to keep bringing new things. As far as locally, I think that it is just going to take some time for the market to really adopt it all, and pretty much probably the help of the government when in terms of infrastructure and things of the sort, because we're looking at the BRT, and I'm assuming that when it's going to be done, if it does everything that it's supposed to do, a lot of things are going to be fixed, less traffic, less et cetera, and I think that mobility will have a better positioning at that time. So that's it.
Thank you for this. So I'm opening the floor to questions, if you guys have any questions. So we're going to take only 2 questions.
We're going to take, just 2 questions. Is there any question in the audience? Questions? So maybe...
Oh, there's one there.
I have one here.
Thanks very much. Simon, a question for you. What stage do you start investing at? And how do companies get to that point where they can raise from you?
Yeah, I mean, historically we've invested in anything from the seed stage to Series B, so we are quite open. And I think we would look at the maturity of the sector. If it's a mature sector, then we would rather invest in a Series A or Series B, but when it comes to mobility, as I said, given the electric mobility sector is so nascent, we are open to looking at seed stage companies because that's what the market provides, right? So yeah, we are quite open And anyway, we like to start conversations early. So even though the startup is not ready for investment, it's always great to have a chat and see the startup evolve. That's the best situation for us.
Thank you so much. One more question. So maybe, Afi, you can conclude.
Sure. Let me wrap up. So this big issue that we'll be talking about, we've seen today what types of solutions company like yours can provide to help us really alleviate issues of pollution, difficulty in getting around in traffic, moving goods and people. I think that there's a great future in mobility. There's so many interesting things that we've talked about. We've talked about AI, patient capital, electric vehicle. We haven't seen it happen yet, but I'm very excited to hear about more about how electric vehicles can be more readily available in Africa. And yeah, I would like to thank our guests and really encourage them to keep on going, because I think this is what's going to make our cities livable in the end. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks so much to all our speakers on mobility. Maybe you want to take a picture? I will let you do. And in the meantime, I'm going to call the two startups who are supposed to pitch for the mobility pitching session. Wigo and Tukijam, if they can come around. So, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, sorry, he's not done. Thank you so much. And I feel you are still going to stay on the jury for the mobility pitching session. And so the first startup you are going to welcome on stage will be Tukijam. Tukijam is ready? Perfect. And I'm calling the other jury members. So Thomas Hart, you here? Program Manager at French African Tech Lab. And Mr. Mustafa Barrow, Startup Grow Lead at International Trade Center. So welcome to Kijam, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi everyone, my name is Hadim. I am currently building a BlaBlaCar model in Africa. Our vision, I just want to, why I'm building a BlaBlaCar model in Africa. You know, in Africa, urban cities are living currently unprecedented growth population that impact our mobility problem and urban planning. And you see then endless traffic jams and vehicle importing country. The first solution is a public transport. Here, our government are making more efforts to improve our public transport. Despite the effort have only responded 43% of the problem in the mobility in Senegal, in Dakar in particular. The next solution is a taxi. It's very expensive, or a taxi boko means a car sharing in Dakar, or Tata or Njaganjai is only fill passenger. It's not easy, it's not comfortable and safe. When you see the paradox in the traffic jam in Dakar, you see more vehicles in the street that only person are living there. We just need to share the vehicle. It's a carpool. Our solution. Currently, we just create a cluster, a carpooling cluster. It allows to connect the enterprise. It means a LinkedIn of mobility that we are creating now. This is a dashboard, a device that connects the user in this company, and the company have a solution to say during the peak hours. A platform that enlists more users, more salary employee in this company. Our market. If you know that the mobility in Senegal represents 2 million, and Dakar represents its 70% in the sector of mobility. We just need to capture 2% in Dakar. Our model economic is very simple. We generate 20% of the number of journey made by users. And we are working now to find how to monetize the credit carbons with company. When you see the competitors, right now we just have direct company and indirect company. The difference between a regulation, you have Yango and Taxi Boko, and each represent here because it's same model in the competitive advantage. We are working now to work with the company, with the government, to find a solution in order to help in the drop-off or corridor. This is the solution we are working now. Our solution is very advantage because it's create a safe space and saving time, money, and comfort. And we are create a professional networking during the rush hours, and we enhance a company ESG policies for the company. This is here are attraction we are doing. We know exactly who is our target, who is our target, and now how do I find a value to create them. We just know to raise money because we want to raise $100,000 to build our technology based on an AI and want to communicate every time. It's so expensive, but the budget of communication and marketing is so expensive. If I get money, we just realize currently 100 employees, 100 trips, and we want to realize 1 million turnovers. Our team is a wonderful team. We are working now to implement. I just promised to recruit a woman in order to enhance gender lines. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you, Hadim, for the presentation. So the jury, we have 3 minutes for the question juries.
Can you go back a bit and expand on your business model?
Can you speak louder, please?
Sorry. So can you go back a bit and expand on your business model? How do you make money?
My business model is to generate commission constantly. We generate 20% of the number of journey made by the users, and we reverse 80% to the drivers. And we are working to find a solution to monetize the credit carbon of the companies.
Okay. So you pay 80% to the driver?
We generate 80% during the trip.
Okay.
Oh. We generate 20% during the print, and we reverse 80% to the drivers.
Gotcha. So who pays? Who pays?
The driver.
The driver pays.
No, the passenger pays,
okay.
And we reverse the driver.
Okay.
You know.
Got you. Thank you.
It's a solution to generate more out of the driver.
Got you.
Additional revenue for the driver.
Got you. Thank you.
Since we are still on the economic model, I have a question regarding the achieving your customer target. I know you are targeting the passengers, but you are working with the companies, corporate, right?
Our model is to target the employees.
But
we're gonna make a safe space. Okay. We are going to target the companies, and the company will set up a device that allow enrolls the salary, the employees.
Okay. So could you detail the value you are bringing to the companies to ensure they make the employees engage in the solution?
We generate a value from the company because we generate a data carbon balance for the company, and the users have a solution to commit to work during the peak hours.
Okay. So do you have enough proof that the companies need this data carbon credit?
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. We are working now for the great big company to monetize this credit carbon.
Okay.
I think that time is.
My question was, what's your traction at the moment in terms of users? You say you got drivers in, but yeah, what's your
We
traction?
just started the product last 2 weeks, and then we are pre-registered 2,050, 1,000 users right now.
Thank you, Hadim. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Merci
you.
beaucoup.
So now I'm calling WeGo, the next startup, the last one for this morning before we have this lunch break. Mr. Sad, welcome on stage.
Hello everybody, my name is Sad. I'm the CEO and founder of WeGo. So we are building the first one-stop shop for all mobility needs across Africa. So each day there is 4.4 billion people that are using public transportation worldwide. 81% of these people have a hard time planning their trips, getting real-time arrivals, and paying for their tickets. So that's why we built WeGo. So WeGo is the first mobility as a service app for Africa, which we do 2 things. We make fintech and mobility meet. So WeGo is basically an aggregator for all transportation, all in one app. So you can find the bus, the train, the metro, but also all the ride-hailing services, all in the same app. So people can have real-time arrivals of buses, train, metros, all in multimodal, but plus pay all their tickets directly from the wallet of WeGo without the hurdle of paying in cash each mean of transportation at the same time. And also, in the back end, we help traditional transport operators with our SaaS, especially the traditional one, so they get an automated operating system that helps them with their trip planning, monitoring, and also accept digital and monitor physical fare collection, and help drivers and passengers with all the information. So this is our footprint so far. We launched 2 countries, 10 different cities between Morocco and Senegal, but also we mapped over 15 countries that we are going to launch very soon. So this is a small example of the public transportation operators that we have on our app, and also the private transportation operators such as Uber, Hitch, everything in the same app. So our business model is really, really simple. We have a virtual card mobility that is available for each user that is powered by MasterCard. And people, they can recharge their mobility card. And from there, they can pay each different ticket. And we take a 2% fee for each transaction. Actually, the fee depends on the country and the mean of transportation. So it can go from 2 to 4%. It depends on the mode of transportation. So the mass investment is growing worldwide. So this is our competitors all over the world. Which is interesting is that we are the first one that are focusing on Africa. And we want to build on this advantage and go quick and try to launch in several cities before they do. And hope from there to cooperate with them in the next stages. So Africa is an opportunity of $8 billion per year, and it's expected that 16% of total revenue of public transportation will be generated online through sales in 2027, and we won't be this app that makes this 16% possible by 2027. So we have a clear pathway for the next years. We launched a soft launch last year, and we generated a little bit under $500,000. This year, we are closing our revenues at $1 million. And from there, we're going to scale to other countries, especially Ivory Coast, Ghana, but also to Ethiopia and then to Egypt. So we have a super team that we recruited from different startups that have succeeded, and that today that are helping us at Wigo to make this possible and to work across different cities. So our cap table has many African ventures that help us today do what we do. We raised a little bit over $800,000. And we are looking to raise an additional $500K to close this pre-seed round. This funding will help us expand into more cities, marketing and advertising, and strengthen the product, but also attract new markets and prepare for the next round in 18 months. So this is everything for me. I'm really happy to have any question you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sad. Thank you. Congratulations. So, some question from the jury.
Looking at your markets and where you have launched now and your potential map where you're going to go, what's so good, knowing that most of the markets in Africa are very different between South Africa and West Africa, what's so go-to markets for a country like South Africa?
Great. Actually, what we do is that we equip students from each city that we want to enter with a special version of the app. So they go and they do mapping for buses, traditional buses, trains, etc. So we have the first routes. We gather all this information, and from there we can have a viable information to start with. We have in the background a machine learning in case there is no GPS or any equipment on these vehicles that we can track and have real-time arrival. And from that, we can predict at 89% of the time real-time arrival for each transportation. And then there is just a commercial agreement with the transport provider, so they can accept Wigo as a digital payment, and where people can put money on their wallet, and from there pay for each transportation.
So, as an inhabitant of Dakar, if I want to use your solution, how do I do it? Is there an app?
It's available. Actually, you can you can try it yourself. It's easy. You put just the destination, and it will give you all the options that can make you go from here to the final destination. You put money on your wallet, and from there you can pay the ticket for any bus available.
So it's an app that I need to download?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have two questions. The one is related to the challenges you are facing with the transport provider in different countries. If you can just give some example. And the second, I have seen that you have a 2% commission. Then in another slide, you say there is 4 streams of revenue. Could you detail or make more difference for me?
So for the first one, as you know, dealing with traditional operators is not easy at all, especially in transportation, where their margins are really, really low. So they can't pay in advance for a SaaS or anything. So what we do is that we help them create a plan, a subscription plan for their users. They don't have it in the most cases, and this makes them have money in advance. And they are happy about money, so they take it. The second question is not for different main channels of revenue, it's just 4x multiplier year by year of growth. So yeah. I guess this is it. So thank you so much.
So, what a very rich morning. We had the chance to talk about fintech, to talk about mobility, and to host a very interesting speakers and also startup during this morning. So now I think it's time for lunch. So I'm going to invite you to go on your right and grab something, your plate, and come back in the main room or at the networking room and just to share the lunch with us. And I just wanted to announce also the VC night this afternoon around 6 p.m. at the Buma Hotel Lifestyle. And we invite you all to also come together and gather and continue connecting between startup and investor and also all the ecosystem. So bon appetit to you all. And we are going to come back in a few minutes. I think 30 minutes, I'm afraid to say the 30 minutes around, we are going to come back and continue our day. Thank you so much. Bon appetit.